afternoon, and thank you for joining this webinar today with myself, Baz Kinder, and my colleague, Emma. Emma, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi guys, my name's Emma Pemberton. I'm the Director of Consulting Services at Wellington. I'll be talking to you today about maturity.
Thank you very much. And I should have mentioned as well my role. I'm the Commercial Director at Wellington, and I've been at the company now since 2007, so quite a while. So today we'll be looking at some of the findings from the State of Project Management report to understand how content individuals are with their organisation or PMO's level of maturity. We'll also highlight the most common pain points and take a look at the benefits that can be achieved through technology, something that can act as a catalyst to help drive wider improvements within the organisation. And as part of a session, I'll be providing a high-level demo of Microsoft Project for the web alongside PowerApps, which together can provide the PMO with quite a comprehensive and compelling PMO solution. So feel free to post questions during the event using the Q&A panel, and we'll review them at the end. And in fact, we do have another colleague that's joining us on the call today as well, Hannah Francis, our marketing manager. So she will be keeping an eye on the Q&A panel. And again, it's something that we'll review at the end. So the agenda for today, I'll start with a very quick introduction to Wellington before providing an overview of the Microsoft Project platform and then delving into a demo of the solution within Microsoft 365. But Emma is going to be kicking off shortly with an overview of PMO maturity and whatnot. Firstly, a bit about Wellington. So we started back in 2001 as a pure project management consulting firm based in Windsor, and we are still in Windsor, but we now also have offices in Ireland and Spain as well. And as a company, we do offer a wide variety of services that span consultancy, technology, and training, with a real focus on project and work management. Over the years, we've also managed to collect quite a few badges, which is quite nice. So we're recognized today as a specialist Microsoft Gold certified project and portfolio management partner. We're also an APM accredited training provider, a P3M3 accredited consulting organization, and last but not least, we're also an approved G Cloud supplier, which will be of interest to organizations that are maybe within the public sector, because it really streamlines and makes it a lot easier for them to procure the types of services we provide, especially from a technology perspective. We also, as an organization, run and compile the annual State of Project Management report, and that's the report that Emma's going to be sharing some of the findings from. And we also deliver the annual Future PMO conference, again, which is something that Emma actually looks after, and I'm sure she will talk about that a bit later. Further details on all of the above are available at wellington.co.uk. The address is displayed on the page, so please do follow that link and learn more about Wellington. Lastly, over the last 20 or so years, we've been quite fortunate really to have worked with quite a eclectic and diverse mix of clients. A number of case studies are now available on our website, and that list is growing on a weekly or a monthly basis. So again, please do follow the link and check those out. But at this stage, I'm now going to hand over to my colleague, Emma. So Emma, if you want to start discussing your slides.
Brilliant,
that would be
thank you, Baz. So Baz is going to be driving for us today, and first of all, I think it's important to understand the typical business challenges that organisations face and PMOs when it comes to project management. And some of these might be familiar to you, you might have heard, you might feel them, you might be feeling them right now. So let's have a look. First of all, prioritization of projects always comes out as a particular challenge for PMOs and organisations, where we have lots of priority one projects, maybe just because of the structure of our organisation or the fact that many organisations have different businesses within them. So we have 20 priority ones, and how on earth can we prioritise all of that? Because of that, we find that there are quite a lot of pet projects. So we actually end up running projects under the radar without any authorisation or business case, which quite often from a PMO perspective, we actually don't see until they've gone wrong. And that leads to no visibility. We have no definitive list of what projects we've got going on. And quite a lot of senior leaders do speak to us about, I have no idea what my people are doing. That And all of this is connected. It leads us to the inconsistency in approach. Everybody's kind of doing it their own way, which means when projects do surface up, we end up trying to have to re-educate our stakeholders in terms of how we are expected to do things, what the projects are about, what stage it's in, and that kind of thing. We also get a lack of visibility of the status and the progress of our projects. And like I say, quite often we don't see them until there's a problem that bubbles up to the surface, and then we're in reaction mode. We have to just deal with whatever the problem is. Because of that, there's no controls. So we start to see a starting of scope creep or lack of scope definition. And we're not great at planning or estimating because we're not spending enough time up front, which means we're just going with our gut feel rather than really starting to validate what our assumptions are. And we go into delivery far too quickly. One of my colleagues always says, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And we need to start spending a lot more time on this kind of activity up front. And estimating is another typical thing that people say, where we put procurement as standard in for 3 weeks. Everybody knows deep down it takes 6 months. So without the data, without really using a consistent approach, it ends up being a bit of a gut feel, and that's a much harder sell when we want to change something. With that comes limited risk management. I'm a risk practitioner. I love all things risk. But yeah, we're quite good at identifying risk, but the reality is that we end up escalating issues instead. Rather than we do risk right at the beginning, we don't really look at it again maybe, and it's only, like I say, when things go wrong, we get an issue that bubbles up to the surface and we end up having to escalate rather quickly and, like I say, go into reaction mode. So some typical business challenges, hopefully Baz will put the next one up so we can see it, and that is down to change control. So change control, resource management, two other things that you will see in a second do come up as challenges for organisations, and that feeds itself into the cost element. Not everybody's doing project accounting in the best possible way, in the most efficient way, but it's something that we do still care about. Our projects still have a budget, even if we're not maybe looking at people cost and looking at that resource element. Maybe we are working on behalf of a customer, so a lot of our contracts are fixed price, and there's, we are very tied to that. So we need to start to get better at that. And without everything on the right hand side, we're going to see everything on the left hand side of here. Project benefits management is one of the dark arts of PMO, just like resource, in the sense of not very many people have nailed it. So we need to make sure that if you ask me for £1 million, that I know what I'm going to get back, and that we have a mechanism for tracking that. At the moment, the year we've had, many organisations are preserving cash flow, so benefits realisation is going to become more focused and more important as this year goes on. And last but not least, one of the key things that many clients start off with is, I spend hours just doing manual reporting, actually creating different types of reports for different people because they want to see different things, or there's a political element to that, where what we call watermelon reporting, I have to report it as green, but I know deep down if we cut into it, everything's bright red. So we need to make sure that these typical challenges are addressed through a combination of maturity and the technology, some of which is new, and Baz is going to show us in a little while. But first, I wanted to talk to you about some of the research that's come out of our latest project management, state of project management report that we do at Wellingtone every year. So we can see here some stuff about success rates, really looking at how many of our projects are completed to time, cost and quality, and also whether our organisations have a track record of success. Have the numbers gone up? Industry-wide, yes, a little bit. Globally, we still haven't really nailed this. So if we look at only 30% of our projects just under are completing their projects on time, that's really not a good number. There's a huge delta there, and something that we really need to do something about as a whole industry, never mind within our organisations. And part of that is because of that lack of scope, lack of planning, lack of taking the time up front to really understand how long stuff's going to take. And that estimating as well is really, really critical in that. To budget, 43% of projects are consistently finishing on budget. So again, still quite a big delta of projects that are going over budget or maybe under budget, which is also a risk. And delivering our benefits, 40% of our projects are delivering the benefits that we were expecting. What on earth is happening to the other 60%? You know, are we doing them just for fun because they're pet projects, or are we just swallowing the reduced benefit that we were expecting in the first place just to get the project over the line? It's important to say that not all projects that start should go to the end. You know, maybe our reality's changed, maybe the focus of the organisation has changed, and we need to really look at whether the benefit is worth the time and the effort. And when we ask people, would you say that your organisation has a track record of success? Nearly 50% think they do. So that's positive, but I think we need to bring these other numbers up. We need to get better at time, at budget, at benefits realisation, so that we know the true value of project management, as well as the projects, the individual projects that we are delivering. In terms of the PMO, we have some, in terms of PMO and project management, we have some challenges within the organisation. Some of these are very common, I would say. They come up pretty much every year. So the top one quite often is we are trying to do too much. We have to remember that as humans, we are biased in an optimistic way. We believe we can achieve more than we can. And that's not through trying to, lie to anybody or kid ourselves. It's just how we are built. But most organizations do say we're trying to do too much with not enough people. And that, I think, is even more true this last year, because many companies haven't brought back third parties and contractors, so we are trying to do a lot more with a lot less. The next one I just wanted to point out here was around the training of project managers. Quite often we see what we call accidental project managers at Wellingtone, where we have SMEs, subject matter experts, who are free, and we say, oh, can you just run this piece of work? And it turns into a huge project. And these accidental project managers quite often don't get training or support. They get given a document and they get given a scope, and that's kind of it. And we need to get better at that. We need to give people the ability to be able to deliver projects in a disciplined way. That's the only way they're going to get the confidence to do that successfully. And the third thing I wanted to really talk about was around resource management. Resource, we know, is a dark art, but we need to get better at it. We need to be able to put names to projects. We need to be able to not take the approach of whoever's free will do, and put real understanding that these people have real skills that we can utilize. Lots of people in your organization have a number of skills that they're not using, not because they're not valuable, but maybe they're not fashionable, or it's not something that we're focused on right now. But actually using the right resources for the right job can really be a path to success for our projects. And one of the key things as well that comes out is that practical, consistent way of working that's also scalable. Putting every project through every single stage of your project is not always the right answer. So we need to make sure that we're looking at things in a more pragmatic way. 2020 has been a year of change. One of the things that PMOs have struggled with is consistently doing the governance and assurance activities they would have done. On the surface, it sounds really easy because everyone's at home, so everyone's available, right? Not so much. Actually, many projects have continued without the touch points. I think PMOs are at a critical point in their life right now, where there's a unique opportunity to look at the last year and think pragmatically about our methods. If we've managed to get through this year without doing every single touch point in terms of governance and assurance, maybe we don't need everything. Maybe we reserve some of that for the more complex stuff, and we make everything else a little bit more scalable, and maybe even give some people a little bit of autonomy as to how they want to manage their projects. Maybe treating people a little bit more like grown-ups and humans is the way forward. I don't know, but I think it's a critical point at which we can actually do this. In terms of maturity, maturity comes in 5 levels. So Baz, if we can get to the next slide. The levels are across the board pretty common that there are 5. So level 1, we tend to find ad hoc processes are in place, it's usually down to a couple of people that know the value of project management and are kind of trying to embed that. At level 2, our processes are a little bit more repeatable. So we'll have the basis of established processes. They're probably only used for the larger projects, and it will be largely down to the individuals to kind of make that happen. So again, it's down to those pockets of excellence almost. At level 3, our processes are defined for all projects. So whether we're using one way of working or that scalable approach, everything will be defined and available for people to use. And we will use that for all of the projects that are there. At level 4, all of those processes are seen as a strategic discipline within the corporate entity. Compliance to the ways of working is now mandatory, and it is something that we use across the board. At level 5, all of our processes are actually established. They're there, ready for continuous improvement, and they are supporting decision making at the strategic level of the organisation. Most of our clients start with us at a 1.5, and not many people want to get to level 5. I think most people would be happy at that level 4, where everything's consistently used, people are using it in the right way. So when we talk about maturity to people, we can see here where on the right hand side, 70% believe that their level of maturity is at a 3 or more in terms of their department. Again, a little bit less think that their organisation is at that level as well. So that's really positive, and it kind of shows that most people feel they're at that more that middle ground, and 35% of people say they're satisfied with that. So again, there's a big delta. And we can see that in the last year, organisations have taken the time to do maturity assessments to understand how good are we at this? Because I think COVID brought with it a lot of uncertainty, a lot of chaos, and organisations are able and have been willing to take a step back and really look at how are we delivering projects? Can we be better if something were to happen that was unforeseen, that we have to do something about? If we can sort out our discipline in project management, then maybe we can deal with the exceptions a little bit better. So really, really interesting. And we can see that 52% are somewhat or very dissatisfied with their current level of project management maturity. And we have seen a steady increase in that since we started our State of Project Management report in 2016. So in terms of, next slide please, thank you. In terms of some characteristics, we kind of go back to looking at, whether our projects are completed on time, on budget, and their benefits. So just a bit of a reminder of that in terms of, now we've seen maturity, how do these come to life? Next slide please. So how do we get there? Maturity is an interesting thing. I find it fascinating. And there are 4 key pillars that we believe at Wellingtone can really support your maturity in terms of project management. The first one is having a methodology, a way of working that is consistent, that's practical for your reality as well, not lifting a book and trying to apply it, but making it fit into your reality. So having the life cycle and the structures around project discipline. In terms of how the second pillar for us is very much having a PMO in place, having the capability. It doesn't have to be a dedicated team as long as you have the skills that are defined within the business. Really making sure that that best practice project program and portfolio management is happening and helping you to benchmark against what's going on in the industry. The third one is the one that we're going to be discussing today a little bit further with Baz, which is around technology. Last year, we've seen a whole host of technology being released, and now we need to start levering that. We need to start pulling that lever to make sure that we are supported by technology to do everything that we need to do. There's no reason nowadays to, still be trying to do lots and lots of data gathering and spending weeks and months trying to pull things together. And the fourth pillar is all around training and support. This is about confidence. If you have the last 3, that's all lovely, but if your people aren't confident, if they don't feel they have the ability, then you will not be successful at growing in terms of project management maturity. So making sure that we are training, that we are supporting people is fundamental. And remember that the work economy has changed. Now our focus is very much on people, that having people work at home can be really tough. So having the ability to really focus on the work-life balance and everything that comes with that is more important now than it's ever been. Focusing in a little bit on that technology, again, just to give you some of the key KPIs, more than half of you don't have real-time access to KPIs, to metrics, with a third of you spending 1 or more days manually collating project reports every single month. This is something that needs to be addressed. This is not the best use of your time. That makes you a very expensive calculator in many ways. So making sure that you are developing something that gives you access, that supports you in terms of getting rid of some of that tactical work, so you can spend the time analysing, finding trends, delivering real insight is a really important thing that we can be doing right now. Next diagram, Baz. And in terms of how you do that, then it's really important that we see that broken down into the number of hours. And I'd be really curious, and feel free to put it in the chat, which one of these camps do you sit in? How much do you actually spend in terms of time on a monthly basis collating information? Are you in the less than 4 hours camp? It looks here 36% tend to be from 4 hours to a day. That's a long time for us to be able to be collating information as opposed to delivering insights and support. And then on the more extreme side, 20% of us are spending more than 2 days every month just collating information, not analysing, not delivering positive fundamental insights, but just collating that. So it's a really interesting thing to kind of pitch yourselves against. And like I say, feel free, I'll have a look at the chat in a minute and see what camp you guys mostly tend to sit in. So we're going to focus a little bit more on technology and some of the reasons that people come to us when they're looking to improve this. The first one, visibility. Senior teams, I don't know what my people are doing. I don't know what projects we've got going on. I don't know what stage they're at. Because we spend a lot of time collating, we don't deliver insights, and a lot of the stuff is out of date pretty quickly. So that's probably the biggest challenge that we find when we talk to senior leaders of organizations is I don't have enough visibility. Also, that improved governance, making sure that we have the right project approval and prioritization, making sure that there's consistency in the way of working, giving people that confidence that if you follow this, it will get you to the end of your project and you are likely to be successful because it's tried and it's tested. We don't need to keep reinventing the wheel. Resource management. I said earlier, this is a dark art in PMO, so understanding how many people do I need to run these projects for the next year is really important, especially considering that many people are not project managers or program managers for their whole job. A lot of people have a day job and are also doing this on top of. So we really need to be very mindful of that. And the element of collaboration. I think this year we've seen the growth of collaboration technology, community and communication. So I think we need to, again, start pulling that lever and really give our teams the tools to be able to collaborate better on projects and having that one version of the truth. And don't listen to us, listen to our clients. We always say that when we release new case studies and things. This is a really interesting set of stats. So you can actually see the benefit of doing this kind of work and really focusing your attention on the technology and the process wins that brings with it. And we can see here in the top one, 25% of projects weren't reporting to on time and complete timescales. So we could see that this was down to just over 5% once we'd actually completed the work and we put in the systems and things like that. And then we can also see that, average reporting time was reduced from 1.5 hours to just 20 minutes. That's a huge reduction in terms of the amount of time because people don't just run one project normally. And also looking at the reporting targets again, from 77 to 95, sounds small, but From a PMO perspective, from the chasing and the governance perspective, that's a huge win for an organisation. So in terms of benefits realisation, there are some real case studies out there where the stuff that Baz is going to show us now has really helped to increase people's project management maturity. Over to you, Baz.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Emma. And just to kind of drive home this point a bit more, I spoke to an organisation yesterday where they had 2 project managers, each spending 8 hours a week producing project status reports, and monthly they were producing a budget report that took 2 days. So all of that we can largely automate using technology, and especially using something like Project for the Web and Microsoft Power BI. And that's what we're going to be looking at now. So we're going to focus on the technology. There's a live demo coming up in approximately 5 minutes. Before that, let's just take a quick step back and reflect on what the typical organization looks like. And like I said, I'll be getting into the demo pretty soon. So the typical organization is made up of a variety of departments and teams, including the all-important PMO, and in one way or another, they're likely to be interconnected and potentially running joint projects, campaigns, product launches, or other project and work management activities. Now, within the classic organization, it's also likely that individual teams are going to be using their own apps and managing work in their own unique ways. It's not going to be the most efficient way of working, and collaboration is probably very reliant on emails, although, as Emma alluded to earlier, solutions like Teams have really been adopted heavily over the last 12 or so months. But despite all of that, there's rarely a joined up view or clear visibility of project statuses. So you don't know what's happening or what actions might need to be taken. The good news, however, is that increasingly organizations are starting to adopt Microsoft 365 or Office 365, through which you've got access to a number of project and work management systems, including Planner, which is a very simple board-based solution to create lightweight Kanban boards, and some of you may have used that system before. For those teams or those areas that need a bit more functionality, we also have Project for the Web, which is really going to be the focus of today. And whilst for heavy users of Microsoft Project Desktop, we also do have the enterprise extension known as Microsoft Project Online. And it's really your level of maturity that will determine the best solution fit. And we can help you to assess the solutions and determine which solution would be right for you. And we do increasingly have a number of customers really that are using a combination of Project for the Web and Project Online. So again, hybrid setups absolutely possible. And like I said, the focus for today really is on the relatively new Microsoft Project for the Web, with the example that I'll be presenting shortly having been extended with Microsoft PowerApps as well. So on this slide, the green elements show you what you get in terms of core functionality from Project for the Web, and the purple areas highlight example elements you could add using Microsoft PowerApps to provide power users such as PMOs with enhanced capability. And in case you're wondering what PowerApps is, it's essentially a solution from Microsoft that enables you to build apps and connections between different solutions. I like to think of it personally as a Lego set that you can use to build something that's really very much tailored towards your requirements. So I think that's probably enough talking. It's time now to get into the demo. A very quick caveat just before I do this. This is going to be a high-level overview of Project for the Web and a quick demonstration of how it can be enhanced using PowerApps. If you do want to see something more detailed, then please get in touch using the details that will be coming up at the end. So you should all now be able to see the home page here to Office 365. And from here, we're going to delve straight into the project app. And in fact, in true Blue Peter style, I've already got it open. And this takes me to a page called Project Home, and it shows me as an end user an aggregated view of all of my projects in one place. And these could be projects that have been initiated in Project for the Web. It could also include projects that have been initiated in Project Online. So again, it doesn't really matter which Microsoft system you're managing your projects in. This view will give you a single insight into those projects. And there is other capability here that we could look at. such as roadmap, but that's not something that I'm going to cover today purely because of time constraints. But what I am going to do is actually go into the system, into Project for the Web, and first of all demonstrate how easy it is to build a new project using this browser-based interface. And for those of you that are maybe familiar with using Microsoft Project on the desktop, then this will look worlds apart. Whereas Project on the desktop, you could almost describe it having a very complex ribbon toolbar that represents the cockpit of a 747. This, in contrast, is a lot more streamlined, a lot simpler, and many would say a lot more intuitive as well. So there's a few parts to the demo that I'll be demonstrating now. So firstly, I'm going to show you this browser-based interface, which is a very simple scheduling interface into Project for the Web. I'm then going to show you how it can be enhanced using Microsoft PowerApps. And then I'm also going to show you how it integrates with Microsoft Teams. And I'll be demonstrating some of the reporting capability using Power BI. But let's get into this. So I'm going to go in and create a brand new project. Might as well give this one a name. So we'll call this the Baz and Emma webinar. And I'll leave all the other details as default, closing out of that. So we've named the project. And we're going to go in, start creating some tasks. So setup, task 1, task 2, task 3. I'll go up to 50, or maybe I'll leave it at 4. I'll leave it at 4. So I've created some tasks. Now I'll add in a bit of hierarchy. So I've now got set up as being the summary tasks, and these are now the subtasks linking into that. I've also got the ability to add in additional columns. So we have quite a few options available out of the box. You can also go in and add your own custom fields as well. But for now, I'm going to drop in effort. Let's also add in effort completed, effort remaining, and I'll also insert depends on. And for good measure, I am also going to drop in a custom field, and we'll call this one status. And we'll go ahead and create that. Going to rejig the view very slightly and scroll along. And at this point, what I'm going to start doing is assigning resources against this project. So in order to do this, we don't need to build a resource pool as such as you do historically within Project Online. This ties into Active Directory. So anyone that's got an Office 365 user profile is essentially available for me to assign. So I'll type in the first few letters of a colleague. This is Megan. And as soon as I do that, it's asking whether I want to connect this project to a brand new group or to an existing group. And by group, I'm talking about Office 365 security groups. And for those of you that are already familiar with using Microsoft Teams, you'll be familiar with the concept of going in, creating a team and adding members to the team so that they have visibility of anything that's been added to the channels. This ties into the same exact security group. So I'm going to, rather than create a brand new group, I'll add this to an existing one. Scroll down, add this to Project for the Web, add and assign. And as soon as I do that, you're going to see that the existing group members are going to be added now to this project. So if I look at group members here in the top right-hand corner and click on that, you can see we've got various members already added. And when I go into assign resources now, it's automatically picking out those individuals. And of course, I can still go in, I can still add people that aren't yet members of this team as well. And I can add more than one resource against a task. And in an update that's coming pretty imminently from Microsoft, these resources that we assign are going to start receiving task notifications and reminders, which is going to be quite nice. Now that I've added some resources, I need to start adding in some durations. So let's go for 5 days there, 6 days, 7 days, and 8 days to keep it nice and easy. So even though I've specified 5 days and it's automatically populated the effort estimate, I can separate the two out. So even though I assign somebody 5 days of duration, I might turn around in the effort and say, well, you've only got 2 days of effort split across those 5 days. So you manage your time however you need to do so. The final element that I'll show you here is the depends on column. So when I go into this and click into that cell, it's automatically going to show me the earlier tasks to link into. In fact, I said that was the last thing. There is one other thing that I'm going to show you, and that is the status field. And this is where I'm going to start adding in a bit of visualization. And I think my keyboard has decided not to play ball. No, it's not going to go in. I might come back to this a bit later. And I think I've got some example projects already set up as well. In fact, let me try this. Now, let me try one more time. No, I really think I need a new laptop. Okay, I'm going to come back to that a bit later because I think I have already got some pre-built plans that actually illustrate that point. But essentially what I was going to do was access the emojis that you can do in pretty much any Office application. And I was going to drop in red, amber, and green with some commentary alongside. But that's something that's relatively easy to do on the basis you've got a keyboard that works. This was the grid view that I've been looking at so far, and this is a very traditional view that you might be quite familiar with already. And for users of Microsoft Planner, I know that historically a lot of Planner users have asked for more capability. They've asked for the ability to link dependencies, to set baselines, and to do a multitude of other things. And those areas of functionality have not been made available, and Microsoft will not make that functionality available. And really, Project for the Web is picking up the mantle from Planner and providing users with that more enhanced capability. So the visualization that I'm going to now is pretty much lifted from Planner. So I've got some buckets here, and I can add in some custom buckets as well if I want to. But what I'm going to do is go in and select from some predefined views. So let's have a look at the progress view, and straight away I've got 3 predefined buckets now being displayed. I've got not started, in progress, and completed. And to update the status, all I do is click, drag, and drop. And as soon as I do that, you'll see that the status of a task has been updated to 50%. And if I take it across to 100%, it's now marked as being fully complete. And this view works hand in hand with the other views. So if I go back to the grid, you will see the task 1 has now been signed off. It's now done. And by the way, I'll come back to this area actually a bit later. But aside from the grid and the board views that I've just been demonstrating, we also have access to the timeline view, which personally for me is my favorite view because it enables me to click and drag things around and link things together really easily. So here I've got all of my tasks listed out. And to create a simple link between these two, all I'm going to do is click, drag, and drop. I've now created a finish to start link between those items. And I can continue to do that with the other items as well. I can also do something else, and that is either extend tasks out or reduce the time that's booked against them. And again, I'll go in and link that back up. I'm also going to mark this item as being completed, and you might have heard that ping indicating that that's been done. An area of functionality that was rolled out quite recently was the ability to add attachments against your tasks as well. So I've gone into my task information window. I can add a note linked to the task. I can also play around with some of these cells that are presented. But if I scroll down, I've also got the ability now to add attachments. So I can either add something from my local computer, my C drive, or I could also link to something that's been held in Teams or to an external source via URL. So straight away, hopefully that gives you an impression of how easy it is to start making use of something like Project for the Web. And certainly for people that are currently using Excel, let's say, or even PowerPoint to put together their schedules, this is going to make their lives automatically a lot easier. And that is really from an end user perspective. But if I now focus on the PMO, then the PMO obviously needs more power. They need to be able to add additional data against the tasks and the projects, maybe linked to financials or risks and issues. And that's what we can enable through Microsoft PowerApps. So going into PowerApps, we've already got an app that's been pre-built by us. It's called Wellington Project Web App. And if I go into it, I've already got it open. You're essentially presented with a portfolio view of your project. And of course, some of this can be controlled by security. And we can also enable you to go in and select from different views. And these, again, are just example views. We can create very custom views as well. And you can also then go in and further group your views as appropriate. So let's maybe group all these projects by project manager's view. So now we can see all of the projects that are perceived to be amber. those that are perceived to be green, which will definitely be the biggest list, and it is. And we've got a few here that are also highlighted as being red. Now, I'm going to actually jump in to a project and show you some more of the power that's available through PowerApps. So clicking into Project for the Web, it's a project that we set up earlier. What you're seeing displayed on the screen at the moment is PowerApps. And in fact, before I move any further forward with this, let me just go into the Task tab and show you that the schedule or the plan, similar to what we were working on just a few moments ago, is also available here. So we've got the core schedule being displayed here within PowerApps, but wrapped around it is this enhanced capability that we've built. So here along the top, you've got a life cycle that shows you where the project is in its life cycle as it stands. And we can also see the forthcoming stage gates. And if I click on any one of these stage gates, you'll see that we've produced a governance checklist for project managers to complete as they progress through the project life cycle itself. And we can set up various rules around this. So if something's been marked as no, and we expect a yes, we can tell the PM that actually you can't move any further forward because of this discrepancy. We can also set up approvers. So rather than somebody automatically moving from, let's say, defined to initiation, somebody's got to look at it and approve it. And it's only at that point that you can then move ahead. So again, we have lots of flexibility around how we set this up. And within this window, we are also displaying a few entities. I'm currently using a standard project type that follows this defined life cycle. If I was to select a simple project, then I don't think I can because it's already progressed. But if I had been able to select a simple project type, you would have seen a lighter governance framework that we have to follow. But we can also, depending on the project type, ask for more information on these forms or ask for less detail. And these forms themselves are actually highly interactive and quite intelligent. So depending on which values you select in certain areas, we will either make certain options appear or disappear, as you can see there. So in this example, we are also capturing, for example, project ID, a brief description of a project. You don't have to type in Latin, but it's what we've done here. And the other fields, like I said, completely bespoke. You decide what information you want to collect at which stage, and we can set that up. In this example, we've also set up fields like project status, so that enables filtering and grouping at the reporting level. We can also bring in some estimates. So some information is coming in from the schedule. That's why you see the locked padlock icons there. We can also set budgetary information. This is a very basic example, actually, but we can enrich this further and allow you to capture time-phased financials as appropriate. And we see some actual data being presented there at the bottom. We also see a section where the project managers can provide updates as to whether the project status is red, amber, or green. And we also have this little window down here where we can see issues, risks. We can also get visibility of the actions, and of course, there is the project manager's update section where we can actually provide some commentary to support the statuses that we are setting in terms of red, amber, or green. And in order to add a new risk or issue, all you do is click on that button there, and everyone gets presented with a standardized form whereby they can onboard the title, assign owners, categorize, they can set probability and impact. So again, a lot of flexibility. And I'll reiterate again, but this is an example of what you could do in PowerApps. This is, of course, flexible. So if you've got a very particular way in which you work within your PMO, we can set this environment up to match your ways of working. Aside from what I've shown you so far, you've also got the ability to go in and essentially output a plan on a page. So I've got access to various templates, and we've got an example template here. So if I click on that, it's going to now export this to Word, and I'm going to open up Word. That's the file that I've just selected. Open that up. And I need to drag back on. So essentially what you're seeing is a plan on a page. This again illustrating the power of what we can do here. So onto this Word document, we've extracted some of the key project information, description, We've also exported out the risks, the issues, the project manager's updates. But again, this is something that is flexible. We can tailor this as well. And rather than exporting something in Word, we could export something out in PDF format if we want to instead. You can also go in and visually view the hierarchy of the projects or the programs or the portfolios by clicking on this button here. So I'm now going to see a visual overview of the projects that are linked to Project for the Web. So this is the project that we are looking at. These are all of the sub-projects, and we even have a sub-project here, which we can see it's a sub-project of sub-project 2, and this is sub-project 2.1. And if we want to go into another project, we can do so quite easily just by clicking on the title of that particular project. But I'm going to go back to the main project for now, and I'm going to cycle through some of the other tabs. I'm going to ignore the RAID. In fact, no, I won't ignore it because I've clicked on it now. But this is just another way in which you can display your risks, issues, actions, or decisions logs. So rather than seeing it all encompassed within one little window, you can expand them out and view them in this way. You've also got the ability to view risks or actions or issues across the entire portfolio as well through PowerApps. But what I wanted to do at this point was actually highlight that you can also embed into this things like Power BI, and the Power BI reporting pack is going to load up. And I'm going to keep this part quite brief because I am going to jump over to Power BI shortly and show you a few more of the reports you can actually generate. But before I do that, because many of you are now starting to use Microsoft Teams more and more, I want to showcase the level of integration that you can have. So as I mentioned before, when you create a new project, you can either link to an existing Teams group or create a brand new one. But once you've done that, it also gives you access to a centralized file storage area, which is underpinned by SharePoint. And rather than saving things within Teams, you could, if you want, just open up SharePoint. And obviously within SharePoint, we can set up further structure as well and have templates available for you to base your documents on. And we can also activate things like versioning control and set up other parameters for you to play with. But aside from this, we've also got the ability to view our project plan here within Teams itself. And this is essentially the same thing that I was playing with before. And I'm looking at the board view at the moment, but I could expand out, look at the grid or the timeline. The point that I really want to make is that Teams can very nicely bring everything together. And increasingly, I do have more and more colleagues, for example, using Teams now on a daily basis as their primary window into what they're meant to be working on. So rather than opening up a million browser tabs or other applications locally, all they do is activate Teams, go into it, and from within that, they can go in, look at all of the individual projects they've been assigned to, cycle through the tabs, and get on with their daily business of working, whilst having access to the chat windows and the rest of their team members as well. Almost at the end of this demo, I'm going to jump over now to Power BI, conscious of the time. So a quick point that I will make at the beginning is that out of the box, Microsoft do provide you with 9 standard reports in Power BI. These reports that I'm going to very quickly cycle through at the moment are looking at the standard data that is captured within Project for the Web, and that's this basic interface that I illustrated earlier. However, we can expand these reports and bring in the data from PowerApps as well. But here you can see that we've got a really diverse range of reports, anything from an overall view of the portfolio itself to looking at the timelines, visualize, we can see milestone reports. We've also got some resource information that comes through, and it shows you how many resources have been assigned against a particular project, and it also shows you an individual's workload as well. So a lot of rich data being captured with not really much effort going into it from a project management perspective in terms of using the tool set. So my details are going to be coming out shortly, and if you do want to get in touch and go through a more comprehensive demo, then absolutely feel free to get in touch. A couple of final things whilst I am showing my browser is that with Project for the Web, Microsoft have taken a very different approach to the product development when you compare it to solutions that they've released maybe 10 or 15 years ago. So historically, Microsoft would have just relied on the product development team to sit in a room, think about all the features they want to release, and that's what they would have released over time. Whereas now, Microsoft are really inviting lots of feedback from the end users through forums like the Microsoft Project User Voice Forum, whereby users are going in and they're submitting ideas. People are then voting for these ideas, and Microsoft review these and provide feedback on a regular basis. And in fact, quite a few of these items have been planned or rolled out now. So I am going to filter this view and look at some of the responsibilities from Microsoft. So project team members want to be able to see their tasks just like you can do in Planner. And Microsoft have responded that actually some of the enhanced Planner capability, that's quite nice, adding things like task level checklists, for example, it is coming to Microsoft Project for the Web. So it's a fast developing solution, really quite exciting, but something that you can also help shape by submitting ideas as I demonstrated there. So that concluded the demo, and it was quite a bit to get through in the 20 or so minutes that I had. But let's move on now, and let's start talking about next steps. So we have a few options. So in terms of next steps, this is what we have. Firstly, if you'd like to discuss with me something like a bespoke demo, a proof of concept, or anything really linked to Microsoft Project or the technology, then please get in touch using the details that are coming up. And through that, you can book yourself a free, no obligation 30-minute slot to have a conversation and understand the art of the possible for your organization. And I can also provide you with costings and things of that time. Emma, do you want to talk about the next step?
Yes, thanks, Baz. Yeah, so the next step is very similar, but really more focused on your PMO. So we do have an MOT for your PMO. You can just search that on our website, and it will take your PMO through an MOT like you would do your car. And it will tell you some areas for strengths, some areas for improvement, and it will be interesting maybe to see how your PMO reality matches with some of the stuff that Baz has talked about, reporting and visibility, and some of the challenges that we know exist. Also through that as well, we also have our Dr. PMO clinic. So again, like with Baz, we are happy to offer 30 minutes to just bounce ideas, get more insight into the world of PMO and what's happening, and see if we can help you out.
Thanks, Emma. And obviously for anything else, then please just do drop us a line. Our details are coming up now. So here they are. So please do reach out to us via email if you've got any questions. And if you're on LinkedIn, please connect with us and also follow Wellington on LinkedIn as well. We do regularly share the details of upcoming events, news articles. We often run surveys and do that kind of thing. But I'm sure at this point you've probably got lots of questions. So we're going to open the floor up now for a bit of Q&A. Again, conscious of the time, but Hannah, are you there?
Yes, I am, Baz.
For us to look at.
Yes, we do have some questions. So I'll just whiz through them quickly. So the first question was from Linda, and that was, where does the project roadmap functionality sit?
Okay, yeah, project roadmap functionality, it does sit within Project Home. So that screen that I showed you earlier where we had the aggregated view of all of the projects, from within there, you can actually go in and create a roadmap. I have got some pre-recorded content on that that's available on our website. So we will share details of that separately. But like I said earlier, if anybody wants to get a more deep dive demo of anything to do with the technology, then please get in touch using my details.
Great, thanks, Baz. The next question is from Dolly, and that's, is the risk issue log a separate app?
It's a separate app in the sense that it's not a native feature within Project for the Web. It's something that we've created using PowerApps, but that's what PowerApps is there for. Microsoft have provided it to provide this kind of enhanced capability. But as part of your Project for the Web licensing, we would expect you to have PowerApps licensing as well, so we can build that kind of capability. But more and more organizations now are adopting PowerApps. The reason being that it has got multiple use cases. So it's not restricted to just benefiting Project for the Web. It can be used in multiple areas of an organization.
Great, thank you, Baz. We have another question from Linda, and that's, can you recap on the differences between Project for the Web and Project Online, please?
Yes, we might have to take that offline. I guess the biggest difference in a nutshell is that Project Online is an extension of Microsoft Project on the desktop. So for organizations that are, pulling together some pretty sophisticated schedules in the desktop solution, for them, the obvious choice would be to use Project Online. For those that are looking for something a bit lighter, something a bit more intuitive, something that maybe at the end user level is geared towards the accidental project manager that Emma talked about earlier, then Project for the Web is the better option for them. But slowly but surely, Project for the Web is being enhanced by Microsoft, so more and more functionality will be coming. But again, happy to say about offline and discuss that in greater detail.
Yeah, thank you, Baz. And obviously, just to let all delegates know, I will be sending out an email with lots of different resources, useful and relevant articles to you this afternoon, and with the recording of the webinar as well. And obviously, please feel free to book yourself in to the PMO clinic or with Baz for the 30-minute appointment as well. Baz, we do have one last question. We do have some others, but we'll reply to those individually. So the last one is, can we use this for a document approved process?
Sorry, could you repeat the question, please?
Sorry, yeah, can we use the tool for a document approved process?
As in getting document approvals? If that's what you're referring to, then yes, through the system you can submit documents for approval. If you're talking about getting Project for the Web to adhere to processes that have been documented within your organization, then yes, again, we can do that. But that probably requires a bit of clarification, to be honest, just to understand the context from which you're coming from.
Okay, sure. What we'll do, Dolly, is reply to you separately, and I'll CC you into an email with Baz if you have any follow-up questions regarding that. That's all the questions from me, Baz.
Okay, well, thank you very much. So I guess that brings us to the end of this session, which has lasted exactly an hour. So we did well on the timing front, but it's a goodbye from me and Emma. Any final words?
No, get in touch if you need anything. And yeah, as Baz says, follow us on the social media because we do add a lot of resources and ebooks and all sorts of stuff that might be of use. But we are here to help. We are here to support your PMO journey. And
talking of which, the final point that I'll make is Future PMO. It's the one-day PMO event. It's taking place in October. What's the date of that again, Emma? Is it October the 14th? Yeah, 14th of October this year. We are going ahead. Hopefully the world isn't going to turn everything upside down. However, if it does, we will go virtual like we did last year. It's still an awesome experience. It's a unique conference. Look it up. You will find some fun stuff in there. Thank you very much. So again, thank you to everyone that's tuned in today. We really hope you got some benefit out of this session, and please do get in touch. But have a great day ahead. Thanks.